Welcome back. Here we have several fact family multiplication and division equations. So I'm going to do row 5 with you. Row 1 is completed as an example as well, and then you guys can complete the middle independently. So we have a division equation already written out, or a division sentence, and we need to swap it around. We're still going to start with 18, but we're going to swap the 6 and the 3. Now over here we can create the multiplication sentence as 3 times 6 is 18, or we can swap these around for 6 times 3 is 18. This is a digital lesson, so it would be on your composition book, not your composition book, your Chromebook, or whatever device your school uses, but there should be some space in your workbook where you can take notes if you don't have access to this lesson at this time. Here I'm going to change them. I have 8 dots, and I'm going to change them into 4 different icons. I have 4, and then we're going to create another set of 4 icons. So you can see that I have 2 X's, 2 T's, 2 triangles, and 2 diamonds or rhombs. So that would end up with a quotient of 2. A number bond diagram for 8 divided by 4 is shown. Which of the following is shown? 8 is 4 equal groups of 2, or 8 is 2 equal groups of 4. We have 2 groups of 4. Use the interactive to show on the number line that 8 is 2 equal groups of 4. So we have a 4 and another 4, leading us to 8, 2 sets of 4. Which of the following is shown in the number bond? This time we have 4 groups of 2. Use the interactive to show on the number line that 8 is 4 equal groups of 2. So I should have 4 arrows that are 2 long, ending at 8. Oops. Use the model to show a situation with a quotient of 3. So 9 divided by 3 would be a result of 3. So this one I selected was divide by the number of groups, so I needed to divide by 3 groups, which means each arrow is 3. We could also change this. We could make it 12 split into 3 groups, would make each arrow be a length of 4. But we're trying to get a quotient of 3, so we would need to swap it to 4 groups so that our answer would be 3. The size of each group is 3. What do you notice? What do you wonder? I notice that -8 is being split into two groups. I wonder what value goes in each piece of the number bond. To divide, we want to split the dividend, -8, into equal groups. Knowing that the two unknown numbers are equal, what must they be? So I know if I split 8 into two groups, that they would be 4. But if I'm splitting -8 into two groups, it should be -4. Use the interactive to show on the number line that -8 is two equal groups of -4. So this time we're pointing to the left. -4 and -4 results at -8. Which of the following number sentences represents the number bond shown? -8 divided by 2, it's not divided into -2 groups, it's divided into two groups, equals -4. And this one would say it's divided into four groups or divided into -4 groups. What division expression is modeled here? Explain your thinking. We said that this was -8 because that's where it ends up, divided by 2, equals -4. And our reasoning is -8 was split into two equal groups. Each group was 4 long and pointing to the left, which is why it would be negative. What number must be in each of the four parts? If I split -8 into 4 equal parts, that would be -2. Because if I put 2 in each box, that would give me +8. But to get -8, I would need 4 -2's combined. Use the interactive to confirm your result. So we're going to the left 2 to represent -2, and we should have 4 of those arrows connected together to create -8. Which of the following number sentences represents the number bond shown? -8 is split into 4 groups of -2. There are 4 groups pointing to the left to represent negatives, and each arrow is 2 long, or has a magnitude of 2. Use the model to show -12 divided by 4. This time let's divide by the number of groups. So the number of groups is 4. and it should result in negative 12, so it needs to be pointing to the left. Oops. And each one is 3 long. You can see it's in between 2 and 4, right there on 6, and between 8 and 10. They are pointing to the left, so it would result in negative 3. Negative 15 divided by 5. Let's do the size of the group each time. We're resulting in negative 15, which is in between negative 14 and 16. The size of each group, let's think of it as the size of each group is 5. Oh, excuse me. The size of each group is going to be negative 3, but we have to have 5 of them. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 3s. Negative 9 divided by 2. Negative 9 is between negative 8 and 10. We should have 2 groups, and the size of each group is going to be negative 4.5. But it doesn't look like it's going to let me do a decimal here, so let's swap it then to do the number of groups, and the number of groups would be 2. There we go. And in between negative 4 and negative 5, and there we go. It should be negative 4.5. Use the model to show a situation with a quotient of negative 3. So our quotient should be pointing to negative 3. So we can create one group of negative 3. We could move to negative 6, and we could have 2 groups of negative 3. So this number sentence would say negative 6 divided by 2 would result in negative 3. You can use several different divisors and dividends to create a quotient of negative 3. So we could do 8 divided by negative 4, thinking of negative 4 as the size of the group. But if we tried to make it the number of groups, it would have to say 2 groups. But we couldn't make the number of groups be negative 4. So it has to be thought of as the size of the group. What do you notice about the signs of the dividend, divisor, and quotient in each equation? In the first one, if both the dividend and divisor are positive, the quotient is also positive. In the second one, if both the dividend and divisor are negative, the quotient is still positive. And in the third one, if one is negative and the other is positive, the quotient was negative. So if I were to summarize this, I would say if the dividend and divisor have the same sign, meaning both positive or both negative, the quotient or the answer will be positive. However, if the dividend and divisor have different signs, meaning one is positive and one is negative, the quotient will be negative. So when I look at this, I see positive and positive results in a positive. These have the same signs, so they result in a positive, but negative 8 and 4 have different signs. One is negative and one is positive, and it resulted in a negative quotient. Using what you noticed, what do you predict is the quotient of 8 divided by negative 4? So right here I see the same sign was positive, same signs is positive, different signs was negative, so different signs would also be negative. And using those fact families like we did in the warm-up, we know that it has to be a 2, right? 8 and 4, 2, 8 and 4, 2, 8 and 4, 2. So it has to be some form of 2 or negative 2. Is the quotient positive or negative? Here I have 80 divided by 8. We are splitting it up into 8, not negative tens. Reset. I'm trying to get to positive 80. They are not lining up very well here. So these are going to be positive tens. They have the same sign, so they would be positive. Is the quotient greater than or less than 80? Well, we're splitting 80 up into 8 parts. So it's going to be less than 80. It's going to be equal to 10. Negative 40 divided by 2. These have opposite signs, so our quotient should be negative. If I'm trying to get to negative 40 using 2 arrows, each of them should be 20 long. Is the quotient greater than or less than negative 40? Now, negative 20 would be our answer, but negative 20 is greater than negative 40 because it's actually to the right on the number line. These have the same signs, so our quotient should be positive, and it's going to be positive 7. 7 times 7 is 49. Is the quotient of 7 greater than or less than negative 49? Positive 7 is greater than negative 49. Here I have the same sign, so the quotient should be positive. 10 divided by 5 would be 2, and we know it's going to be positive 2. A positive number is greater than negative 10. And the quotient is 2. These have different signs, so the quotient will be negative. 18 divided by 4. Well, 18 divided by 2 is 9. And 9 divided by 2 would be 4.5. So 18, or negative 18, excuse me, divided by 4 should be negative 4.5. Negative 4.5 is farther to the right on the number line than negative 18. So that is a greater. Again, this was a digital lesson, so make sure your warm-up is complete in your composition book or wherever you do your warm-ups. And then if there's any notes that you need to take, you can add them to your workbook. Otherwise, you can just follow along online as you do these slides.